Have you ever found yourself in a conversation with a native English speaker, nodding along but secretly thinking, I have no idea what they just said? Or maybe you've been watching your favorite English TV show and even with subtitles, some parts just fly right over your head. Trust me, you're not alone. Understanding native English speakers can feel like trying to catch a speeding train. It's fast, it's overwhelming, and sometimes it feels like you're just a step behind. But what if I told you that with just 5 minutes a day, you could train your ears to catch every word, every nuance, and every bit of meaning? That's exactly what we're diving into today. The 5-minute daily listening hack that will transform how you understand English. So, why is this so important? Well, listening is the foundation of communication. If you can't understand what someone is saying, it's hard to respond, connect, or build relationships. And let's be honest, native speakers don't always slow down or speak clearly. They use slang, contractions, and fast-paced speech that can leave learners feeling lost. But here's the good news. Your ears are like muscles. The more you train them, the stronger they get. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just 5 minutes a day. Let's start with the first step, active listening. Now, I know what you're thinking. I already listen to English all the time. But here's the thing. There's a big difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is passive. It's just noise in the background. But listening is active. It's about focusing, paying attention, and really trying to understand. So, for your 5-minute practice, choose a short audio clip. It could be a podcast, a YouTube video, or even a scene from a movie. Play it once without subtitles, and just listen. Don't worry if you don't catch everything. The goal here is to train your ears to focus on the sounds, the rhythm, and the flow of the language. Now, let's move on to the second step, shadowing. This is where things get fun and a little challenging. After you've listened to your clip once, play it again. But this time, try to repeat what you hear as closely as possible. Mimic the speaker's tone, speed, and pronunciation. It might feel awkward at first, but this is how you train your brain and mouth to work together in English. Shadowing helps you internalize the natural rhythm of the language. So when you're in a real conversation, you'll sound more fluent and confident. By now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I'm doing this right? That's where the third step comes in, feedback. After you've shadowed the clip, listen to it one more time, but this time, follow along with subtitles or a transcript. Pay attention to the words or phrases you missed. Were they too fast? Unfamiliar? Write them down and look them up later. This step is crucial because it helps you identify your weak spots and turn them into strengths. Now that we've covered the basics of active listening, shadowing, and feedback, let's take a closer look at how to make these practices work for you in real life. Because let's face it, understanding native speakers isn't just about listening to clips. It's about applying what you learn in everyday situations. Imagine this. You're at a coffee shop, and the barista asks, "What can I get started for you today?" You freeze for a second, trying to process what they just said. Was it get started or get stirred? Did they say today or to stay? Sound familiar? This is where the next step of our 5-minute listening hack comes in, real-life practice. The key here is to expose yourself to different accents, speeds, and contexts. Native speakers don't all sound the same. Someone from New York will sound very different from someone from London or Sydney. So, for your daily practice, mix it up. One day, listen to a British podcast. The next, watch an American TV show. This variety will train your ears to adapt to different ways of speaking, so no matter who you're talking to, you'll be ready. But here's the thing, Listening isn't just about the words. It's also about the meaning behind them. That's why the next step is contextual listening. When you're practicing, don't just focus on individual words. Pay attention to the overall message. What's the speaker trying to say? What's the tone of their voice? Are they excited, frustrated, or joking? This is especially important because native speakers often use idioms, sarcasm, or cultural references that might not make sense at first. For example, if someone says, "It's raining cats and dogs," they're not talking about animals falling from the sky. They mean it's raining heavily. By focusing on context, you'll start to pick up on these nuances and understand the deeper meaning behind the words. Now, let's talk about predictive listening. This is where you train your brain to anticipate what's coming next. When you're listening to a conversation, try to guess what the speaker might say based on the context. For example, if someone says, "I'm so tired because I stayed up all night," you can probably guess they're about to say studying or watching TV. This skill is incredibly useful because it helps you stay one step ahead in conversations, even if you miss a word or two. By now, you've got a solid foundation: active listening, shadowing, feedback, real-life practice, contextual listening, and predictive listening. But how do you make sure you're actually improving? That's where the final step comes in: tracking your progress. Let's be real, learning a language is a journey, and sometimes it's hard to see how far you've come. That's why it's so important to track your progress. At the end of each week, take a few minutes to reflect on your listening practice. What did you struggle with? What improved? Maybe last week, you couldn't understand a single sentence from that fast-talking YouTuber, but this week, you caught a few key words. That's progress. Celebrate those small wins because they add up over time. Another way to track your progress is to revisit old clips. Remember that podcast episode you listened to a month ago and only understood 50% of? Go back and listen to it again. Chances are you'll understand a lot more now. This is a great way to see how much you've improved and stay motivated to keep going. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but what if I don't have time? Here's the thing: you don't need hours to improve your listening skills. Just 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference. The key is consistency. It's better to practice for 5 minutes every day than to cram for an hour once a week. Think of it like watering a plant a little bit every day keeps it growing strong. So, to recap, start with active listening, shadowing, and feedback. Then, expand your practice with real-life examples, contextual listening, and predictive listening. Finally, track your progress to stay motivated and see how far you've come. Remember, understanding native speakers isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every word you catch, every phrase you understand, is a step forward in your English journey. I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to listening to native English speakers? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tips and tricks to improve your English. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, your English journey is worth it. You've got this.